Hello everyone, Satorn here giving you another quick Vicky 3 tutorial. This is going to be a step-by-step guide how to reduce any leading interest group out of your government and potentially even marginalized. Step 1 is to look at the population of every interest group. So for the Shogunate, I take a look here, they're at 78,000. If we go down here to the samurai or the armed forces, they're at 182,000, so a lot more people. Even if we check out the Buddhist monks, they're at 215,000. So why is their clout lower than the Shogunate? Well, if we hover over it, we can see all these bonuses they're getting. They're getting it from their leaders. We can't do much about that. However, they're getting 10% from 2 generals, so we may be able to retire them out. And there's laws that are also giving it a crazy bonus: monarchy, hereditary bureaucrats, peasant levies, serfdom, and local police force. Step 2 is to start to look at the laws, but I would also look at the interest groups that have the next amount of power. So the Shogunate's at 48%. The samurai are at 10%, the Buddhists are at 16%, which is looking pretty good, and the peasants are at 12%. Intelligentsia isn't very strong. So when we go back and look at the laws here, we want to keep that in mind. Now looking at the laws, we can see for monarchy, they're getting a plus 25%, the shogunate are. So we want to see what are their other options. We can see here the theocracy is a plus 25%, meaning that the shogunate will lose 25% and the theocracy would gain 25%. So that's a huge game changer in power with the percentages. We also have presidential republic, which doesn't help, parliamentary, and council republic. So that's not going to help any of our groups. So theocracy is a possibility. Then I'd keep going down through the list. So hereditary bureaucrats is one that's also giving plus 25% to the shogunate. We would have to get appointed bureaucrats or elected bureaucrats. We can see here, there's no help here. It's the petite bourgeoisie as well as the intelligentsia. Continuing down the list, we look at peasant levies and see that that's giving a plus 25% to the shogunate. We potentially could do professional army. This will give a plus 25% to the samurai. And if we hover over the green bar, we could see who we would need in government. So the samurai, we actually have a member of the petite bourgeoisie, which would help out as well, or the leader, and then also peasants. So we could get this up to a 26% if we have those in government. Serfdom is another large one we could take a look at here. Is giving a plus 50% to the shogunate. So we want serfdom abolished. Lastly, I would take a look at the local police force. That's another one that was on the list that's giving a plus 10%. We could get to dedicated police force, so just remove the 10% bonus that they're getting here, and we could potentially get a 33% approval, which is really nice, but we'd have to have the peasant, samurai, and intelligentsia and the petit bourgeois in the government, so that's most likely not going to happen either. In summary, for step 2, what you want to do is find laws that are going to remove power from the leading interest group. So for example, if we get monarchy out and we get theocracy in, that'll be a plus 25% swing to the monks, which is awesome, and a reduction to the shogunate. So that's really good. So you want to go through the laws, make a plan, figure out, okay, what groups do I want? And then you'll now know what groups you need to get into your government as well to start passing these laws. In our example, my game plan is to take a look at the freedom of conscience, and we're going to want to go to state religion. We have a 20% chance because we have the samurai in there. That's a 10%, and our leader currently gives us a 10% as well, which is great. But we could look at the green bar and see the Buddhist monks would also give us a 16% chance. Let's go back to our government. Let's do a quick government reform. You got to be careful of radicals, so make sure you take a look at this. When you first do it in the game, it's fine. There's no penalty. It might be a bug, to be honest. But definitely when you start switching things around, be careful about that. Let's go back to freedom of conscience. We see state religion. Now we're at 36% chance. This will be great because freedom of conscience right now gives us a 15% political strength bonus. But if we go to state religion, we're going to go up to 30%, which is step 3 is a tough one, but you got to look ahead. So what I would do is look at the rest of the laws and see what would make the most sense that you would do next. As I look through these for our example, I looked at health system. And charity hospitals seems like an easy one for us to potentially pass. It'll get us 10% bonus in political strength. If I hover over here, if we have the Buddhist monks just alone in there, that's a 16% chance. It's not super high, but it's not too bad. Looking at all the other ones, they're roughly around 8% or even worse. Serfdom is a possibility, but we couldn't get enough people into the government to make it happen. So that's why you kind of want to look ahead. But when I look at health system and charity hospitals, one thing I do see, one thing that I'm missing is medical degrees in my technology. So this helps us plan what we're going to take, right, for our research. So we'll go here and into society, and we'll first take academia, and then from there we'll go down to medical degrees. Also looking ahead, you need to figure out what buildings you want to build, and the best way to do that is to look at each of your interest groups. So for example, the shogunate and the leading interest group we want to take a look at the aristocrats, and we can see they have a 52% chance. So every time a new aristocrat gets this job, they have a 52% chance of becoming a shogunate. So we want to make sure that we keep aristocrats low, and then we want to also take a look at the Buddhist monks and see, well, what do we want? Because this is the one we want to grow. So we can see clergymen here have a 41% chance, so that's really good. So you can go through each interest group and start to figure out what professions make the most sense. Additionally, in step 3, you want to take a look at your market. So we kind of have an idea what professions we want, so which leads into what type of buildings, but we also got to marry this with our economy needs. And what we need right now is a lot of wood. And what makes this even harder for the Japanese shogunate is that they're isolationists, so we can't even trade. So there's no trade available. So this makes this example even a little bit harder. But yeah, so wood is definitely one that we want to look at. So if we go here, we take a look at actually the logging camps. We can see here we're going to get 500 shopkeepers, 4,500 laborers. Not necessarily the ones that we want. However, they're going to go into interest groups that aren't going to hurt us. So they could go to the petite bourgeoisie or the industrialists and a little bit into the samurai. And the laborers can go into the peasants, which isn't necessarily bad. The samurai, petite bourgeoisie, as long as it's not going into our leading interest group, I think we could work with that. So I think we're going to really focus on logging as our first building for our industry. What groups you want to bolster and suppress and at what times? Right now, we want to increase the Buddhist monks. It can't hurt us because we're trying to pass a law of state religion. You cannot suppress groups that are within your government, so that's something to keep in mind. I'm not going to bolster the samurai because later on we're actually going to want to weaken them. That's because I looked longer and I figured out my laws and I want to go to theocracy at some point. So we actually want to reduce these. In addition, our bolstering and suppression is actually a little bit stronger. Well, actually a lot of bit stronger because we have censorship, which is nice. It's giving us a minus 40% suppression bonus as well as a plus 40% bolster bonus. So this is just nice. This is something that the Japanese shogunate starts with. Another way to reduce the shogunate's power is we knew that there was military generals that are giving them some bonuses. So we could find them and we could retire them. However, this will reduce their approval rating for 5 years. We're going to do it anyways and see how this will work. Hopefully it'll be pretty good because they are giving a decent amount of modifiers here. So we found the other shogunate and let's retire them out. So it's a -4. So they're not going to be super happy with us. We could go back here. We could check out the government and we already know right here they're kind of at neutral and we're getting a -4 already. But I think we should be in an okay place. You can also look to recruit generals and admirals that could help you in the other direction. So for example, if we wanted to increase the samurai, we could do that here. I'm not 100% sure how it chooses, what interest groups your generals are going to be a part of. It seems a little bit random. If anyone else knows, please put it down in the comments below. That would be amazing to know. You can also do it for admirals, even if you have no ships. But here we have 2 shogunates, so there's no help here. So now you should have your plan. So for example, we have all of our buildings. I got my construction queued up. I know I need a ton of logging. The logging is not going to help the shogunate, which is great. And I wish these buildings would also help us out in our religious group, but it's just not going to happen. We also have a plan for our laws. We know that first we want to try to go for state religion. Hopefully we'll get this to pass. Again, there's some RNG, so if it fails, we're hoping to get that to continue. Also, the next step that we were thinking about is we want to go from monarchy to theocracy. And if for some reason that fails, we're getting our tech ready to go from no health system to charity hospitals, which will also give us a nice little increase. So we got a good game plan here. I've done this a couple times, different runs. It'll work. There's a lot of times, again, the RNG, so some of these laws can fail. Revolutions are probably going to try to pop up. We're going to suppress them. Let's go. So we failed our first try on state religion. We're going to see what we got. Miracle workers. The Buddhist monks are true followers of the divine, so we could get our enactment chance even higher, which is awesome. The other option is just to let it go up plus 40%, but this one's very good because we also get interest group pop attraction. So that means more people are going to join the group. This is a great event. While waiting for our law to pass, something really great happened. Our Buddhist monks actually got over to 20% clout, and that was due to bolstering them, which is great. So now what happens is, and I'm going to unpause it, you're going to see some of these numbers are going to shift. And what's happening is once they get to 20%, it's going to start pulling other people from these other groups into the Buddhist monks. So now we went to 21% to 24. You can see the peasants went down a little bit. I think even the shogunate went down a little bit. So those numbers, right, are starting to shift. So once you hit that 20% mark, you start to become influential and you start pulling from the other groups. So now we're getting to a point where we're really powerful. Events may also pop up, such as these, where we could actually reduce one of our interest groups. So the samurai, we don't necessarily want to do that right now, but this one's pretty interesting as well. We say, very well, samurai shall be the leading force, -2% to the shogunate and -2% to the monks, but we really don't want to do that. So I think we're going to just say, what a ridiculous thing to say. So 3rd time's the charm. We got state religion. Yay, we did it. So now the monks will have an extra 15% political power, which is awesome. We're already at 34%. So we've been eating away at the shogunate, even without anything really passing. So this is the first time, and we have a good bolster going on. So we got to change things up now. Next law that's going to be tough is we want theocracy. So this will be a plus 25% swing from the shogunate to us, which would be really good. We have a 34% chance. It's pretty darn high. So we're going to do that. The problem is that we have a big opposition. So we got the samurai and the shogunate are not happy about this. So we may get some radicalization, but it looks like only the industrialists will do that right now. So we're going to say yes to this. We're going to also, just to be on the safe side, we're going to go to our government. We also have to reform here, and we should probably get the samurai out. And what we want to do is confirm this. And this is good. Our legitimacy is now at 100%. So people are actually liking that quite a bit. We're going to go to the samurai. We're going to also suppress them. They're not happy. So it's okay. I think it's good for us to suppress them. The shogunate are also not happy, which is not really great, but we'll see. We're going to get some, definitely, we're going to lose some money here. That's okay, because we got the negative of -20% kind of across the board of our tax income. But I think we're going to make it through it. But time went by a little bit. People want to preserve the monarchy. So again, it's the samurai, which we're trying to suppress, and the industrialists, which are also pretty low. So the support is high, but the radicalism is low. So I think we're in very good shape here. Again, we're suppressing the samurai. The intelligentsia are here, but all we care about is the industrialists, and they're super low. So honestly, I think this is going to be very good. As long as we can pass this, maybe it might fail once or twice, but we'll see. Let's keep it going. At 2 events. Blessed are the meek. So this is more about loyalists. So yeah, we want more loyalists over our radicals. Our radicals are growing. So this is one thing too to keep in mind. We're making a lot of these different changes to laws. You're going to get some radicals. Nothing really you can do about it. We also have a little bit of a tour, and the tour will drum up support for the Buddhist monks even more. Sounds good to me. A little bit more interest group strength and approval. We love it. Keep it going. And we got theocracy. So that's it. Another plus 25% swing in our favor for political strength. So with theocracy, we did it. We changed our flag. We also are now the leading interest group. So that's how you do it. We could actually kick out the shogunate if we really wanted to, take a big hit in legitimacy. We could conform, we could, if we don't want to change any laws for a while, we could go here and we could actually start suppressing the shogunate. So get them the heck out of your government. I'm hoping this video helps you out, getting maybe some interest group that you don't want in your country, such as landowners. You can now do it. You have the steps. You can figure it out. You got to come up with a plan, definitely with your laws, with your different interest groups, trying to figure out the power, but it's definitely doable. This is one of the hardest examples, actually, because you're an isolationist. It's not very easy to do, but I was able to do it in the Japanese shogunate. Hit that like, subscribe, and notification button. They're free. And as always,
for the swarm.